Okay, so we'll move to the adoption of the agenda as proposed by Councillor Buddy, second by Councillor Zoltak. Resolve the agenda of the special council meeting. The adoption of the 2026 budget is hereby adopted as presented. So, I'm going to give a brief presentation of the budget. It's basically the same information that has been distributed to you. First of all, I want to thank the entire administration. The budget is not necessarily an easy process. I want to thank every department, specifically the finance department, for their tedious efforts, late nights, long hours on this. I think this is one of the best budgets that I have ever been a part of in 5 years. And I think it's going to give a tremendous amount of value to the town and residents. And I want to start off by saying this is the lowest, by a significant amount, this is the lowest, we're looking at the lowest average property tax increase since 2019. So we are looking at a combined 1.7% average property tax increase, which is significantly less than most municipalities. I mean, the city of Montreal announced today that they're going to have an average of 3.4 to 3.8. We are at half of that. This is on a combined local and annual basis. So I'll just discuss some of the things that we used in going about this budget. So infrastructure renewal, we really wanted to better and upgrade infrastructure throughout the town. So we're going to see a lot of that in our capital expenditure program. And one thing that we did a little bit differently this year that we haven't done, or it's very different that we haven't done in the past, is we set 3 priorities, 3 different categories for our capital expenditures. We have priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3. And really when it comes to municipal budgets, the revenue side is pretty much fixed, right? Because we know what our property tax revenue, which is our main source of revenue, and we know more or less within reason what all the other revenues will be. The only variable that we really don't know is the land transfer duties. So in 2022, I believe, we increased our rate, and land transfer duties is a local tax, for those that don't know. In 2022, we increased our land transfer tax. Anything above $500,000 is now taxed at 3%. So this doesn't apply to everybody, but maybe about 40, 50 homes every year. So we are getting additional revenue on that. It's been a tremendous success. In 2025, we budgeted about $2.5 million of revenue for land transfer tax. We hit it out of the park. We had $3.5 million, so we had a 40% increase on our land transfer tax. So it's an additional $1 million that we can do great things for the town. So when we're budgeting for 2026, we're still conservative with our land transfer duty revenue. We set it at 2.75. Personally, I think it's going to be higher again, considering that we're going to have a full year of lower interest rates as opposed to 2025 when it was gradually being reduced. So I think the market is going to be strong there. And that's why really we set up priority 1, priority 2, priority 3 for our capital expenditure program, because we will gauge as the year goes whether we're going to have additional revenues from the land transfer duties, and if we do have additional revenues, we want to put them to use right away. And one of the big things that we're going to be putting into is infrastructure renewal, parks and recreation enhancements. We're going to invest in accessible, well-maintained community spaces, public safety and security, supporting a safe and resilient community, workforce stability, entering negotiations. Well, this is not going to be a land transfer. This is a one-line item in the expenditures under legal, insurance, and other fees. You'll see that there is an increase, and that is going to be a one-time increase because we are entering collective bargaining agreement negotiations. So, and we passed this resolution just moments ago. So we're going to be hiring professionals to carry out these union negotiations. The last collective bargaining agreement was for 10 years. I don't know what the next one will look like. I don't have any details, and it wouldn't be prudent for me to comment on that right now. But that is basically a one-time expenditure on the operating budget. So I will also state that in our capital expenditure program, discussed this for about a decade, I talked about it earlier, we have just over $1.3 million allocated to Ellerdale, and I'm really, really happy. Everybody should be excited that we're finally getting Ellerdale done. It's going to be a huge boom for the town, and more importantly, I finally feel very positive for the people that live on Ellerdale after years of complaints. So, with regards to the agglomeration, we actually have a very minimal minor increase in the agglomeration share compared to previous years. In 2022, we got hit with almost 10%. 23, we got hit with almost 13%, and then came down between 3 and 4%. This year, we're looking at just under 1%, so we're very pleased with that. Some municipalities had a significant increase, so what it comes down to is that there was, from my understanding, because the new municipal valuation rule was deposited this year, there's fluctuations throughout the island of Montreal in terms of property values, and it adjusts everybody's quote part accordingly. With regards to urban planning, there is an increase, a significant increase in the expenditure. And again, this is going to be a one-time increase because we have our Director of Urban Planning, Mario Duchesne, who really has been such a tremendous asset to the town. He announced his retirement. So it's a big loss for the town, but we have his replacement, Jonathan.
I think he left.
So we met him earlier, and he started last week. Yeah. So he comes really motivated to bring great insights and vision to the town. We're very excited to work with him. But there is a bit of a crossover between Mario's stay, the transition between the rest of Mario's tenure and Jonathan. We don't want to just give a 2-week grace period because it is a very significant portfolio, so that's a one-time cost. Public security is going up. We are in a very different time than 20 years ago. We have a new hire, a new position opened up in public security, and I think we should all take pride in that we absolutely have the best public security team on the island of Montreal. As a matter of fact, a couple years ago, I think it was Laval. Was it Laval that came to us?
Yeah.
I think it was Laval that came to us and said, and Laval has their own police force. They came to us and they said, we think that you have a great public security model, and we want to create something based off of that Hampstead public security model. I don't know if they did anything off that, but it just goes to show you how incredible our public security officers are. With regards to debt, I'm very pleased to say that we probably have one of the lowest debt loads on the island of Montreal. And it's not just a measurement by absolute value because we have a small budget, but there's an actual ratio that is calculated. I believe by the end of next year, 2 more years, so 2028, we will be debt free. So we will have maybe about $600,000, $1 million every year that we can invest more into our infrastructure. So financially, we're really in a good position. With regards to some of the capital expenditure projects, operations, and, you know, overall, a better quality of life for the residents. We are looking at 2 park upgrades this year. The vision will be to do 2 significant park upgrades every year over the next 4 years. So we really want, over the term of the mandate, to greatly improve our parks, not just Hampstead Park. So one thing that we're looking at, which I'm very excited about, my children are very excited about, well, actually they don't know about it yet, but they will be because they've been asking, is a zip line in Applewood Park. So I know it's a very big hit elsewhere. So God willing, if everything goes well and our land transfer lead is coming well, you know, we're going to add that. Or another revenue, I forgot to mention, for another revenue item, which is a variable item, is our park fund. So when there are home constructions, like the 2 that you mentioned earlier, we get a significant amount of park tax, which we allocate to a park fund, which we can only spend on parks. So let's say on average, we get maybe about $100,000 for each new construction. So if we do anywhere between 2 to 4 new constructions in Hampstead, that's $200,000 to $400,000 that can go to significantly upgrading our parks. We're also going to be doing great smaller improvements. For example, I believe now all of our parks, except for a few which we're going to be doing this year, we're changing from sandboxes to the woodsheds. It's safer, it's easier. Another park that we're going to be looking at is Counselor Park. We're going to be doing some kind of musical equipment, acoustic equipment for children. Next year, if things continue in the way that we're going, you know, we're going to do 2 more parks. I think that pretty much covers the salient points. So all I will do is now table the budget for the 2026 fiscal year in accordance with section 474 of the Cities and Towns Act. The town treasurer hereby deposit the municipality's budget for the 2026 fiscal year. And now I will open up the floor to any questions on the budget, please. Congratulations, thank you very much. Hello.
Just a couple of quick ones.
Sure.
In the revenues and miscellaneous, what is the 350,000?
That's the grant that we discussed earlier.
The public works, I know you have an overlap between one person and another person. How long is the overlap? 2 months?
That's not public works, that's urban planning.
Okay. So public works is an extra $500,000.
Public works, it's an increase of 6%. Yeah.
Just inflation?
So I'm not going to get into significant details because it relates to the union negotiations.
That's salaries. Legal and insurance and other things. You mentioned it was for collective bargaining.
Correct. There's about $200,000 in there for union negotiations and things like that.
In the deficit that came down because you've been paying it off.
We don't have a deficit. We have debt.
Okay, debt. The savings in debt payments, where are they?
So those are capital related costs.
Okay, so they went up.
So we're increasing we're fast tracking our debt payments, so it probably makes more sense on the interest rate perspective to do so.
Well, we've done that every year. We've gone now from 2.6 to 3 million.
So
But
basically,
what about the savings that we had from last year? If we paid the same amount to lower, like, we're paying off debt, so there's less.
but it's not only debt, there's other items in there.
I
So
see.
our interest, okay, so our interest on the long-term debt for 2026 is $80,000. The financing costs, so our debt repayment is $915,000. The difference of $2.2 million are capital projects.
What were those numbers in 25?
So our interest expense in 25 was $89,300, and our debt repayment was $795,200.
Because it's only about $10,000.
$120,000 more of debt repayment.
All right, and the remaining debt is like what now?
Remaining debt is, about $2 million. Approximately.
So it's about 5% you're paying.
Sorry?
You're paying about 5% of your debt.
Talking about interest rate, I don't have the actual
Well,
rate.
saying it's 80,000 you're paying.
But some of it is either interest free or low interest debt. So,
Thank you.
well, any other questions? Hello,
Sorry, all on the same topic, but more than one question. Regarding the proposed allocation over several years for CCTV cameras, I believe the original budget was $50K, just kind of laughable, since my small business had 9 cameras for $25K. What empirical evidence was used to determine the need for this investment, and what specific problem is it expected to address in a measurable term? As stated by Councillor Zoltak at last meeting, given CCTV cameras generally have limited impact on crime prevention and mainly assist with post and incident identification, how does council expect this to meaningfully improve public safety? Can council outline the projected long-term costs, including maintenance, replacement, and clarify how many cameras this budget represents? Finally, what alternative measures were considered to address the same concerns, and how were their cost effectiveness compared to CCTV cameras?
Can I say something first?
Absolutely.
I think you misquoted me. What I was talking about was CCTV cameras in individual homes. For an individual home that not necessarily help, it can be somewhat of a deterrent. This particular project we're talking about is to be able to track individuals throughout the entire town. It's not quite the same subject.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to call you out, but I do still believe that these cameras don't really help security. There is no empirical evidence. I want to know what council did to determine that this was the best thing to do for security. I mean, I've done the research. It helps in some situations, but it doesn't prevent crime.
Look, it's a great question. It's very valid. There's no empirical evidence. We're not using any empirical evidence to make this decision. What we did is we got a lot of feedback from many residents throughout the town who thinks that this is a worthy and viable project. Is it 100%? Nothing but 100% to prevent harm. We have many tools that we use. Some are a little less obvious than others. Some, we're not going to talk about for security issues. This is just one other tool that we have in our $2 million budget for public security. So, we're looking at a $50,000 investment on an annualized public security budget of $2 million that many believe will add a lot of value, even if you're right, it might not prevent, but it might help in post-crime activity. So, there's only gain from this, not to lose.
I would argue that there is loss in terms of finances when we could find a better approach to this.
If there's a better approach, we're all ears.
Is that not your job in terms of council to determine the better
We
approach?
determined that there is no better approach, and that's covered with this.
But I'm saying lighting, having extra patrols, these are approaches that are maybe cost effective.
They're not mutually exclusive. We do all of this in tandem together.
Is this part of the budget to increase lighting?
This is absolutely a constant item, and we actually discussed, we believe that we've come up with a better way of fast tracking the obsolete lighting infrastructure. Basically, we have a very outdated, antiquated lighting infrastructure. The lighting wires are not in conduits, they're No, not the dimming, that is controlled. If it's dimmed, it's for a reason, we're able to deal with that. The issue is that when they go out. So, if you ever see the road rehabilitations in summer or the fall, you see zigzags on the roads before we do the road repavement. And what we're doing there is going from one lamppost to the other, we're putting conduits so that we can better deal with any power surges or power outages. Because what happens generally, the power outages occur when there are either thaws in the winter, like what we're having now, is very cold to somewhat mild, and the humidity in the road triggers a break in the fuse. So the conduits are supposed to alleviate that. The issue, and it's a very good program. The issue is we started 5 years ago, and we've only been able to do about 25–30%. So it'll take like another 15–20 years at the rate that we're going to do that. So we're discussing now the way of maybe fast tracking so we can shorten that 15–20 years to maybe 7–8–10.
Perhaps relocating the 50,000 for the cameras to better lighting is better, given empirical evidence that lighting is more protective to
So
citizens.
I hear what you're saying, but the 50,000 wouldn't put a dent in the.
No, but it's not doing anything on
And
the
it's
other
not,
end.
and again, there are many who believe that the cameras act as a very good deterrent.
Public education in this case might be.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay. Following the presentation of the budget for the 2026 fiscal year is proposed by Councilor Budley, second by Councilor Farkas. Resolved that Council approves the budget of the town of Hampstead of $36,557,462 for the fiscal year 2026 as presented and deposited during the special council meeting. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 7.0, adoption of the 26–27–28 three-year program of capital expenditures in the town of Hampstead. Following the presentation of the capital expenditure program for the town for 26–27–28, it is proposed by Councilor Zoltak, second by Councilor Budley. Resolved that the council approves the 26–27–28 capital expenditure program for the town of Hampstead as presented and deposited during the special council meeting. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 8.0, adjournment. The agenda having been completed is proposed by Councilor Budley, second by Councilor Farkas. Resolved this council meeting be adjourned at 8:23 p.m. Thank you very much. And in a moment,